There are a limited number of baseball museums dedicated to just one player, 4 to be exact, and 2 of them are in Pittsburgh, the Clemente Museum in Lawrenceville and the Honus Wagner Museum in Carnegie. A visit to the latter museum enriches visitors to the homegrown player who became the greatest pirate of them all.
Welcome to the Honus Wagner Sports Museum. Glad you're here today. Our sports museum on Honus, who is Carnegie's favorite son, is one of only 5 museums that are named after individual ball players. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Yogi Berra, our Roberto, and Honus. We're really thrilled by this museum because we've managed to capture Honus during that era in early baseball called the dead ball era. Back in the 1990s, a gentleman, a local businessman who acquired Honus Wagner's original home, opened a small museum there, and his enthusiasm for it caught the eye of the Historical Society of Carnegie, and they joined together, and the Honus Museum has been here at the Historical Society since then. In the museum, we have a number of memorabilia, not only from his professional background, but from notes from people in the area who knew him as a solid, grounded guy. We're kind of the guardians of Honus history here, and we take it seriously. This is one of the many items that we have here that we're thrilled with, because when the Pirates are playing in town, they always draw a large crowd from the cities that they're playing against. And we have visitors from out of town, and we get into spirited discussions on whether or not Honus is the greatest shortstop who ever played the game. And we stand here and look at the statistics. But Honus used a heavy bat, and he held it like a club because the style of baseball they had was called hit and run. It wasn't so much going for the fences as it was to put it between the defensive players. This is our 1910s era game played Honus Wagner Louisville Slugger. It's heavier than the bats that are used today. It has Honus's signature tape on the grip. Honus was a right-handed hitter, but he would hold the bat in a style like a club, because in the dead ball era, you had to put some power to get that ball going. And Honus was one of those guys who was a natural, gifted athlete. We all know somebody like that. And he was quoted as saying, "Baseball is easy if you love baseball." This picture here is special because when it was commissioned for a calendar, and when Honus was told that it was going to be a professional model, he said, "No, I want the little boy next door." And so the calendar that was used was the little boy next door, and we have a picture of him years later coming back to see the Honus Wagner Sports Museum. When you talk about Honus Wagner, one of the first things that comes to most people's mind is the Honus Wagner tobacco trading card. And what made this so special was when it came out, only 200 of them were made, because they went in packets of cigarettes, 5 cigarettes for a nickel. And Honus didn't want kids smoking cigarettes, so he withdrew his endorsement. In 1935, it was valued at 50 cents, the first time they established values for trading cards. The last time it was sold in 2016, it sold for $3.127 million. Honus knew the temptations of the road, and he would come back to Carnegie to keep himself grounded. And he was known up and down the street, and there's still people living in Carnegie now who remember him from their teen years. Needless to say, these folks are getting up in age. People come in, they'll often ask, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Honus or Honus? His name was Johannes, German. Like William gets shortened to Billy, Anthony to Tony, Johannes, it was shortened to Honus. Folks from out of town call this area we live in Carnegie. If you live here, it's Carnegie. On the off season, he would coach basketball and play with what we would probably refer to in these days as beer leagues that anybody from Western Pennsylvania would be familiar with. And the shoulders on Honus are just amazing. Those are coal miner shoulders. The things that he talked about, the things that he represented, the skills that he displayed are noteworthy in any time. And I think combining that with the guy's basic humility, that he was a coal miner. I mean, he's a man of Western Pennsylvania. When you come to visit the Honus Wagner Sports Museum and the Historical Society of Carnegie, the tour normally takes about a half an hour. It's free and it's kid-friendly. And when you leave, you're given one of the Honus Wagner trading cards. Whether it's worth $3 million or not, you're going to have to find out.